Started. So I'm Debbie. I'm the founder of Icing Images, and we have two amazing guests here with us, and I'll allow them to each introduce themselves. Backstory, real quick, is that there's this some sort of cake pop group or something that questions come up, and so they wanted to have a platform where we can answer all these questions, mainly about edible printers. But I got edible paper here. I got ink. I brought all kinds of stuff. So let's go ahead and Bonnie, if you want to go ahead and give a quick hello and tell us a little bit about yourself and your club.
Unless you want me to thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this. Debbie, I've messaged Debbie a lot about my edible printer. She's wonderful. I just want to say thank you for being patient with me with the edible printing emails. I am Bonnie Bradley. I'm owner of Sweet Stella Treats, and I've been doing cake pops for about 15 years. I started with cakes and cupcakes off and on throughout the years, and then I've stuck with cake pops for the last like 8 years. And then I've just gotten into edible printing for the past 3 to 4 years. And in the last year, I have created just a membership. It's a monthly membership where I kind of just store everything and teach people how to do my cake pop dough. There's live tutorials each month, recipes, discount codes. One of those discount codes is for Amy's inventions that I use every single day in the kitchen, her depth guides with the disc pops. But it's basically something that I wish I had when I started 14 years ago. Just with everything with social media and the internet, there's all this information, and I feel like it can get overwhelming, especially when you're first starting out. And then I just kind of created something that can have all of those things together in one spot. So membership is open right now, and doors close August 14th. And maybe I can put a link or something like that in there. But cake pops, I guess, are my love language if I've done them for 15 years. And I think the internet's, especially Instagram, I met Amy through Instagram, and this lots of things that you can learn and support each other. So the edible printing and imaging is something that's been on the radar. We have the Business of Cake Popping Facebook page Amy and I do together, and lots of questions on storing, printing, and all that. So I'm excited that we get all those questions answered from Debbie tonight. So
yay!
Give it to you, Amy.
I'm trying to put this up.
Hello, everybody. We got the link to Bonnie's page up there. Thanks to Debbie. Excellent. But my name is Amy Mucha, and I'm the owner of Daisy Pops, the cake pop side of the business, and Daisy Makes, which is the 3D printing side, where we actually 3D print cake pop tools that Bonnie was mentioning. We have been Daisy Popping officially for about like 6.5 years. We moved into our first brick and mortar about a little over a year ago in April in Kent, Ohio. So if you're ever in Ohio, pop on by sometime. We love visitors coming in and seeing the pop shop and how we do everything there. But yeah, we introduced edible images probably about like 3 to 4 years ago, and it's been a big game changer for our cake pop business, but it could also be for your cookie business or anything really, because people love seeing their logo in a tiny edible sweet form. Like they see it and immediately they're like, oh my gosh, like, how can I get these? Which is just so fun. So oftentimes I will do what I call schmooze pops. So I will edibly print their logos, put them on cake pops, and then go if I know that I'm seeing, the owner of the company or, somebody like speaking at an event, and I'll just come with their logos on cake pops, and they love it. So we own both one of the Canon Icing Images printers, so we can print on edible sheets and then put them on our cake pops. And we also own a Big Blue as well, so we can print directly to our cake pops. So we are bought into the Icing Images family and are very grateful for all that they do as a whole for cake pops and all of the other treats as well.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. You have 2 printers. Why do you have 2 printers? Because they're kind of redundant, but I know there's a good reason. Go ahead.
There sure is a good reason. Yeah, so the 2 printers are very, very different. So the end result is kind of the same, where you get an image on a cake pop. But if we're using our Canons, where we print on edible icing sheets, then we have to cut them out, which we actually use our Cricut to cut them out, which has been game changing, but maybe more on that later. So you have to cut them out and then you adhere them to your cake pop. So when people bite into it, there's still like that icing paper, which they can eat obviously, but some people don't love it a lot. Like me personally too, sometimes I'll like take it off if I'm eating a logo cake pop. It tastes fine, but it's just different. Whereas some people have been like, can I get like an edible, my logo on a cake pop, but not with the edible paper? I was like, well, I'm not piping that. Like I'm not an artist. I'm a pop artist, which is very different. So with our Big Blue printer, we can actually print directly to our cake pops so that there's no paper. It's just right on the chocolate, which has been great.
Let me ask you this question. Oh, you have a question, so go ahead.
This is going to be really bad on my part, but this tells you how, I guess, I don't even know the word for it, but I did not know that the Big Blue printed directly on the cake pop.
Well, it sure does. Yes.
I did not know that. Like I've always just had the Canon, and I've never, I just kind of, I don't get as many orders and corporate orders as Amy does because I don't have the hands to do as many things that Amy can pop out in a week. So I did not know that the Big Blue printed on cake pop. All right, let's carry on.
And you know what, Amy? So you can print directly on the pre-cut circles using your blue. Dead on every time.
Right. Okay. Well, hey, that's good to know.
We have, I think, somebody on here. I'm trying to remember who it was that I know Stacy does. You can print on it with the Cricut and cut it with the Cricut using the blue, I think, as well. And Stacy, if you can enlighten us, if it's not you, you'll remember who. Mm-hmm. So, Donna, why don't you only use your blue? Yeah. Okay. So that's what I just said. Okay.
Yeah, I can. I was gonna say I was actually just telling somebody this when they saw Big Blue in my office upstairs. So like, oh, like, but like, is it just you using this? So if I'm using Big Blue, it's me using it. So I have to be the one up there that has formatted everything, that's doing the cake pops. Versus if I just print out on our edible sheets, our icing sheets, and send it through the Cricut, I can just have a bag of like logo sheets, take them downstairs to the pop shop where my coworkers are working. So we just a little bit of more info about Daisy Pops is we have a team of about like 15 to 20 pop artists working, and we pump out like 2,000 to 3,000 cake pops a week. So we're a high production cake pop facility. And so I'm able to just drop those off downstairs, and then my coworkers just are going through their tasks and they can just grab those, do them on their own time. So they don't have to wait for me, which has been the reason why we do that. That's a great question.
Yeah, totally logistics, which is great. And it's nice that you're able to do both. Yep. And Stacey and Sharita both. I was thinking it was Sharita. Also, just a quick mention in the beginning, we were talking and I said, yeah, we have people from Australia pop on. Maybe we do that. Kate Wettner is here from Perth, Australia.
Nice.
So,
fun.
Yep. So, okay. Just checking everybody's messages. Okay. So the way this is going to work, sort of, because everybody who knows me knows that nothing ever goes exactly as planned. And yeah, it's just kind of the way it is. So I definitely want you guys, especially you all pop artists that have joined us today, to please pop questions up. Sorry, you made me do this. Like when you email Amy, if you use the word pop, it's all about that pop, yeah, pop. So,
you know what they say, once you pop, you just can't stop. So,
hello, Julie.
Oh, Amy,
you're funny. So start like throwing your questions up there. I'll watch them and I'll make sure we get to everybody. Hey, Caroline, we haven't seen you for a while. I was thinking about you. And so, see, we had like a lot of people come on all the time. She hasn't been on for a little bit, so I was like kind of worried about her. But anyway, so anybody first, let's start with any questions you have for our pop artists that are up here. Any questions you have for me with edible printing. Julie Goodwin, she causes trouble. She's a blue owner, and we have to apologize for her quite a bit, but it's okay. We love her, and I want her so bad. So are you coming to CookieCon, Julie? So, so everybody, just pop your questions up and we will answer them. I think one of the things you guys wanted me to talk about is printers in general, when to get a printer, when not to get a printer. And I can start there. I know a lot of you who are on have heard this before. But, first of all, I think the most important question whenever you're considering an edible printer is not which one, not which make, not which company. It's whether you should or not. And I try to stop people in their tracks a lot when I see them. Oh, I'm thinking about getting one. And what do I get? And I'm like, first question, how often are you going to print? And if you're not going to print that often, then you shouldn't get a printer, whether it's from me or anybody else. So what is meant by that is with regularly edible paper printers, those are the ones that print directly onto the edible paper. We have a bunch of different types. And then you place it on your pop or your cake or your cookie or whatever the candy. I'll get with you in a minute. Sharita's thinking about some pops here. So the question is, should you get one? If you're not going to use it regularly and you're not disciplined, do not get one. There are a lot of people that are probably even on this that will print in this feed that will print and ship to you. And if you use that service from whoever you choose, if you're having problems finding somebody in your area, let us know. We can look up our customers so you know they're using our products, and we can probably find somebody close to you. But if not, people are everywhere. We print. I know a lot of people here do. And if you throw up your name if you want to, if you print and ship as well. And then when you see yourself ordering them regularly, that's when you buy that first step, the edible paper printer. The edible paper printer then works into the direct-to-food printers, such as the blue food printers that we offer. And those print right on food, as Bonnie mentioned. That's something that you're ready if you're going to be using it about every 3 days. If you're not, don't spend the money. And that's with any edible food printer, because whether it's the consumables or the cost of the printer, it needs to make sense. And the financial sense in purchasing one is if you're using it regularly, then it's going to build upon itself and your business will grow and you'll have the action needed to actually support the printer. Let me go ahead. I want you to say something. That's why.
All right. If I can interject too, I would say that is so true. I know because fighting with your printer after you haven't printed for like a month or two is no fun. So like if you can just get those logo orders, or if you're not getting enough logo orders, then kind of like what I mentioned before, do schmooze pops or schmooze cookies, like even if you're just running like a couple of them, like printing one sheet a week, like just to keep your printer a week, maybe a couple times a week. Or of course you can do nozzle checks as well. But yeah, if you just find excuses to use your edible printers, that will help even if you're in like a slow time. So, if like holidays are crazy corporate, you're printing logos all the time. And then come January, you're like, oh, well, nobody's ordering corporate cake pops right now. You can find ways to use it, which has been great, but just don't let it sit there and get clogged, because that is not fun.
I can attest to that too. And I feel like I did not do it was 2020 and it was the year of all the goals, and edible printing was on my goal list. And I will admit I did not do as much research as I should have on the maintenance. And it was one of my goals to get more corporate clients and do logos and those types of things. So in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm going to get this printer and then I'm going to get the orders. And so I had it backwards. And I realized that after the maintenance and things like that, and I've used it a ton. And now I feel like even in my business now, when it's just me, instead of, I'm just a cottage bakery, Amy's got the brick and mortar, I can still see, like she's saying, there's ways that, like when you were talking about ways to use it, it's August now, but you could print one Thanksgiving sheet a week, or things like that, just to get ahead on your Thanksgiving orders or, you know, things like that. So yes, I can attest to make sure you're ready for the orders when you're ordering it.
100%. Always, and the internet has helped and hindered our industry quite a bit because it's easy to buy parts and put things together, and you try to save as much money as you can. I mean, our edible paper printers start at $300 with supplies, and they're not crazy expensive. It's easy to get the stuff. And so sometimes when people jump on, let's say, Amazon, it doesn't have the information backing it up. So like the stuff we're talking about here, they're selling individual parts of things. And yes, you can do that 100%, but they're not giving you the education needed to make decisions. And I believe in businesses. I love helping people develop their business. And that's why I'm like, start here because you can do it. You need to offer it. Love the schmooze. If you ever want somebody to buy your stuff, you feed them. And you don't have to feed them a lot. You just a little taste. Just a little taste. And they
That's right. Barb is asking. I was just going to answer Barb's question, and then Sharita, we can come back to yours too when we get more onto the big blue side of things. But Barb, we were very nervous about we can't print them too far ahead of time. But in fact, you can print them pretty far ahead of time. I'd say we've easily worked with ones, I don't know about months and months, but at least a month, maybe more than that too, as long as a couple things. They are in an airtight bag. So we got bags that are actually bigger than your normal Ziploc bag, so it can hold a full sheet. For a while, we were using just the normal gallon size, and I had to cut off the bottom part of the paper to fit it in. I was like, they make bigger bags, Amy. So we got a bag that can hold the icing sheets. So as long as you have it airtight, probably like Debbie has over there. And then 2, you don't leave them right side up, or you put them in a folder so that the sunlight / light cannot get to those images. Because we have noticed if you do that, then you're that is a different color than the newer ones that we printed. But as long as you just keep them shielded, the same way that you do with probably melting chocolate or with sprinkles, because those colors will change when they're exposed to light. So if you do those 2 things, I would say that those images can last quite a while. I don't know about from August to December. They might get a little brittle would be the thing that I would suspect. But at least a month, probably 2 in advance for sure.
Yeah, so I just have a drawer setting down here, and then I have just edible images that I've used, and that I know I may need for additional orders in the future and stuff like that. And it's airtight, and it's in a drawer with no sunlight getting to it, and they're good. So yeah,
and that's the key. In a good Ziploc bag, not a thin, wimpy one, and out of direct light. Now today I've been going through the warehouse because we're getting some big shipments coming in, and I want to rearrange things, which throws my whole office off. But I was going through our show stuff, and I have stuff that's we don't feed people this stuff. But it's on all the different kinds of sheets that we have, and they must be at least 2 years old. I threw them out because I'm there's no way. But I will tell you what holds really, really well. First of all, the sunlight or lights are important. Just flipping it over makes that difference. But smart sheets, they look brand new. The cellar sheets, brand new. And I even took the cellar sheets out of the bag, and because I wanted to see if it would fall apart, because they have shorter stick. So yeah, they do last, but keep in mind that if you look at the expiration dates on your paper, keep that in mind, not just from when you print it. And environment has a lot to do with it too. So these bags are what our premium icing sheets come in. I don't know how old this is, because it was getting from my warehouse. And
3 years. 3 years old.
It could be more because I cleaned out some rooms as we moved. Lord knows. Oh, look. I didn't even know it was in here. This is a smart sheet. I'll bring it up close. Okay, and I really don't know how. I don't remember printing this. Stacy, did you print that by chance? This is an icing sheet. Now, hold on, let me look close. Now, on the icing sheet, you'll notice if you look close, it's a little bit like it's shadowed a little bit over time.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
See what else is in here.
What is a smart sheet? I feel like I need to know this.
Oh, smart sheets are awesome. Oh, look, it says 2023. My name is Layla, and I'm a cancer defeater. 2023.
There you go.
And so that would have been October of last year is when we printed them, and they probably printed at a show. A smart sheet. Smart sheets are probably my favorite sheet. If anybody knows me, they know me well, that I like the most to get the most out of anything that I can. And that's the smart sheet. Smart sheets are, it is a, it's in my hand. It's a cornstarch base. So every starch in the papers are all different. Mm-hmm. So wafer is a potato starch, for example. And these papers, when I got them, it was in Vegas. And of course, when I tape things, I push them to the max. And so I took it out, left it on my dresser in the room at Vegas. Didn't do anything to it. And icing sheets, that won't work. So they hold up to more environments than any other sheet. There is a smooth side. That's going to be more like a high definition image when you print on it. They're beautiful. And then there's a textured side, similar like wafer paper, but this you can actually feel the texture. So it's attuned to printing on a matte piece of photo paper or something, or like a photography, you know, the school photographers that have the bumps. There's no sugar in them. There's no backing. They can act like wafer paper. So you can mold them. And if you have, I didn't bring my paper portion in. I remembered everything else. It will actually soften it up and it will feel like fabric. People have made lace out of them. Yeah, I know that Becky Norton, I think this is her favorite sheet. Wendy Liz loves them. So they can take the place of an icing sheet as well. So icing sheet, flex frost, wafer paper, it goes in and out of all of those. So it's good to keep it on hand, just because it can substitute pretty easy for everything. There's no flavor whatsoever, because that's actually the first thing I do is I put it in my mouth.
Of course, yeah, gotta eat it.
It tastes like nothing, and it's you know, and I'm pretty picky because you guys work hard on your recipes, and you don't want anything detracting from that. So that was important for me as well. So that's pretty much, Becky uses them for her embossing, her high resolution embossing. She does, yeah, it's really cool. And if you're going to CookieCon, come by our booth. She will be there showing that.
Nice.
It's really, really cool. So that's a smart sheet. So
thanks for the explanation. Good to know.
We got lots of papers. I'm trying to go through real quick.
I see another question in there too that I can take while you look through the rest, Debbie.
Go ahead.
Kathy was asking, once you put edible images on the cake pop, will it be okay to put in the fridge if we do the 1, 2, 3 method? Which, by the way, I love that you say 1, 2, 3 method, because I came up with that, and so I love seeing it like in the wild. Because as a former math teacher, I'm like, well, there's got to be an easy way to remember this. For those of you that don't know, we say that cake pops can be stored for 1 week at room temperature, 2 weeks in the fridge, and then 3 months, but really forever, in the freezer. So that's just an easy way to remember that. I have found that you cannot store edible image cake pops in the fridge. Some people have differing opinions than me, but anytime I do that, the condensation, the moisture gets on the edible images and then makes them not work very well. Now, however, I was like, well, we freeze every single one of our cake pops that we make. So that was going to be like a hard no. We're like, we can't do edible images if we can't freeze them. You can freeze them. So what we do is we put them on, let them dry, wrap them individually, stick them in the freezer, and then we bring them straight to room temperature. As long as they're individually wrapped, that condensation just goes to the bag and not the cake pop. And then they're totally fine. So I always say kind of X off the 2 in the 1, 2, 3 rule for edible images, because they can be room temperature or they can be frozen, but don't keep them in between. Now, like we noticed that even in our display case that is refrigerated in our pop shop, we have like little happy birthday ones that have logos, and they're okay. Like they can be out there for a week or so, a week. But we can see like it starts to get a little fuzzy around because of that moisture and condensation. So I would suggest skip the fridge, just do freezer or room temperature.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's exactly right. When it comes to room temperature, that's where the problem is, unless it's in a sealed container. When you leave it in that container, whether it's individually wrapped or in a container, until it's at room temperature, don't open it up before that. If you do that, that's it. That's all.
Yes.
Okay. And Julie Goodwin, I totally forgot, Julie, and you're right. On the smart sheets, they handle water very, very well.
Oh, okay. I hadn't thought of that. So that might be a loophole to my fridge rule of not using it, not doing the fridge.
So we got to get you some so you can play with that. But the reason I say that is they're used for paint your own palettes, where you print the palette on here, and that's used for painting. So all that water, it holds up, which is good.
All right. That is great to know.
Somebody wants to see your pops.
I'm on vacation, so I don't have. Actually, I do have cake pops upstairs in the freezer, but no edibly printed ones. Bonnie, do you have any?
I know I've got cake pops, but I don't have any edible printed ones right here.
Okay, Bonnie.
But if I were going to put an edible image on, which I have some little race flags right here. I actually have a disc pop right here, so they come. This one's already cut. So I would just peel it off, and then I usually put just a little bit of water on that one, or glue, and then it would just go right on like that.
Cool.
Yes.
Adorable.
And talking about the in the fridge and out of the fridge, I've noticed that if they are individually wrapped and then put in an airtight container for up to a week, they're fine. But I learned the hard way. I had them in a BRP box shop and just not exposed to the air, but I had a lid on my BRP box shop lid, and they just began to curl around the edges. So just the condensation. So yes, I'll second that on having them individually wrapped for sure.
Okay. We had a question about gluten in the smart sheets. Sorry, I had to look it up because we have like 6 different sheets, and I never trust myself. So it says on here, gluten-free, oil-free, sugar-free, fat-free, titanium dioxide-free, and vegan. May contain traces of milk, sulfites, and soy. So there you go.
Nice. That's great to know.
So samples of cake pops, I'm going through real quick.
I'll just throw this out there too, from how Bonnie was explaining how she does her edible images on her cake pops. We actually don't do it that way. I hate having multiple steps in I'm not the one doing the cake. In fact, I don't usually touch cake pops that much anymore, which is crazy. So I need to make it super easy for my coworkers to do it. And so what we do is we actually like dip our cake pops, and then right away before they dry, we slap that edible image on there. We center it up, and then we do like a little sprinkle border around it right away. And then we just set them down and let them dry, so that it's like a one-stop pop shop, if you will, where you just slap on that logo, sprinkle them, and we are good to go.
Yep, yeah, and that was the question that just came up.
All right, and this is my daughter Daisy, by the way. So
hi Daisy.
So she's the namesake, and then she actually went upstairs and got me some cake pops. So here are ours. These are our summer ones that we have. But you can see, just like the one that Bonnie just showed you, these are all disc pops, which is actually all that we make now. So they're all flat, and a big part of what made us go flat at the beginning was because of doing logos, so that we could adhere logos to our flat cake pops.
Gotcha. Awesome.
And then I will attach mine, like Amy was saying, like on the back, or on a disc pop. I'm just a little bit, as if I'm not using the sprinkles as much, then sometimes I can put it on a little bit too soon, and then the chocolate pulls up around it. So if I do it like Amy said they do it in their shop, I usually just let it dry for a second while I'm dipping the other one, and just kind of have a little system going where I can put it on when it's just almost dry, because I'm not always doing the sprinkles around it. So different options on what you can do with that.
There it is. Well played.
There it is.
Awesome. Daisy, thank you very much for going and getting those. You made a lot of people happy. Another item that you can use, there's a lot of different ways to adhere images I know some people use a small amount of piping gel, not a lot. If you use a lot, it'll get disgusting. So very little. And then also we actually have something called Little Honey's Glue, which a lot of people like as well, as an option as well. Some people even use a little bit of water too. I've heard people use like Crisco, but a little bit, just enough to get it on there. So lots of ways to do it. There's no, it's just whatever works for you. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. And nobody has asked this question yet, but I'll answer it anyway. Some people always ask, like, what size logo do you want with your cake pop? And I always say, like, go 1/4 inch smaller than your cake pop diameter. So if you're doing like 2-inch cake pops, go 1.75 for your logos. So there's a little bit of a border around there that you can sprinkle or you can not sprinkle, but it doesn't go right up to the edges, unless you want it to go right up to the edges. But if you want a little border, that 1/4 inch seems to really, really do a good job of that.
Do you make your own sprinkles with your blue, with royal icing transfers?
I do not, but we need to talk about that, please.
Huh?
We need to talk about that, apparently, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
You can make your own sprinkles, like themed sprinkles, and you mix them with the little regular ones.
Oh, my. Well,
And
all right.
You can do that and then go downstairs and work. All right. Linda, what chocolates do you use to dip, and do you find that the oil will sometimes bleed through the edible paper?
Bonnie, you want to take that one first?
Sure. I'm a big fan of Stover and Company Sweet Shop line. That's all I have everywhere. And I've never had an issue with anything bleeding through the paper. I know a lot of times that we get asked, or in the group or different places, wafer paper versus the icing paper. I only use the icing paper. So, and it's a little bit thicker. So nothing bleeds through that at all. Like it's a good thick little icing sheet. And there's not any oil that I have found. Amy I'm probably not answering this in the correct way or using the correct terminology, but if the oil is coming out, it would be from your cake dough and not the chocolate. So I don't know if that answers the question or not, but no, I do not have any problems at all with the chocolate and the icing paper.
Okay, and I just want to add to that so you can see the difference. Wafer paper is meant actually for standing off of something. It's thin, it's light, you can maneuver it pretty well if you use paper potion, but I'm just showing you that you can totally see through it, and that's why it doesn't work well flat on an image, because it will pick up whatever's underneath. Icing sheets, I'm going to take the backing off, are much thicker, and while you can kind of see through it, you can barely see my hand. Okay, and then you have the smart sheets. I know you don't use those yet, but same thing. They're pretty thick. So that's why the wafer paper isn't necessarily the best use of doing an image flat.
And I'll add on to that too. To Second Stover & Co., we use all their chocolate all the time. It's been great. We have actually had the oil bleeding through, coming through the chocolate, and it only happened when we did our edible images on not flat cake pops. So another reason to go disc pops. I distinctly remember we were doing cocoa melon ones, like the little watermelon head. So we had made them as spheres, and then we put the little face on the spheres, and I pushed it on. But the part where it would push on, if it got through the chocolate onto the actual cake ball, that's when the oil came through and ruined it. So that happened on those ones. And then also when we were doing little honey pots, like Winnie the Pooh honey pots, I had a little honey logo printed, pushed it onto that ball. And the oil came through. However, if you're doing them on completely flat disc pops, the surface area, I feel like it's evenly spread out so that the chocolate creates a perfect barrier between your cake and your edible image. So it is never a problem.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that explains it exactly how you said it. It's the cake that will bleed the oil through, not the chocolate. All right. And wait, I want to get to that too.
Is there a way to see all of the comments? I'm only seeing the last 5.
So I go and I look on the Facebook part. So, and that's where I can see everything. I open it up there. I click on it, and it opens up the comments on the right-hand side. See if that helps you. Sharita wants to know, thank you, Lori. How long do you let your cake pops dry after printing with the blue before bagging? And do you dust them prior to bagging?
Yes. All right. So story about my blue. I got it, and it was a big expense for me like a couple years ago, because I was like, we weren't in the pop shop yet. I was like, okay, like, do I do this? Do I not? We did it, and so I printed right on my cake pops, and it was smearing left and right. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just wasted money. Like, what is going on? Like, I don't know. So I actually talked to one of my cookier friends who was in the area, and I was like, hey, like, do you want to come over and like print on some of your cookies? Because I want to do an experiment to see if it's just the chocolate, on the cake pops, because I knew that could be a problem. Or if it's like my machine, which I didn't think it was the case, and it was not. And so she comes over and she brings cornstarch with her. And she was like, oh, I like powder my cookies. I'm like, you do what? I was like, what are you talking about? Yes. And so I was like, oh, like, sure, like, I'll try it. So we actually we put cornstarch on our cake pops before we print, and it magically works. And I was like shocked. I was like, it's a miracle. But yeah, so we cornstarch first, and then we use our big blue to print on it. We just let it sit for maybe like 10 minutes or so. And then I actually use one of those like air guns that you use to like clean your keyboard. I use that to get off any extra cornstarch. And then we package them. And another great thing too that I discovered is that you can still freeze them, because again, we freeze every single one of them. So I'm like, if I cannot freeze these, these cake pops with direct printing, it's not worth it. But with that cornstarch trick, we can freeze them again, as long as they are all individually wrapped and you let them come up to room temperature. It works great. So that was a great find, thanks to my cookie friend.
Yeah, and we actually have a chocolate company, a very large chocolate company that uses our printer for printing on chocolates as well.
Great.
Yeah. All right, let's see. We've got a lot of questions up here. When you dip, we said we got that. If you have, Kathy says, if we have your large daisy cutter, which you're going to have to explain what that is,
I will.
What edible image would you recommend?
All right, ready? Here we go. So Daisy Makes is my second company that I have, because we are making all the disc pops. So we don't even do the ball pops anymore, just solely discs. My husband has a 3D printer, so he started like making me things like a little disc cutter and all of this stuff. So people started asking on social media, like, hey, are you selling those tools? And I was like, well, I'm not, but should I? And the answer was a hard yes. So we now have an entire company based on this. And so we have, man, I wish I was home.
I was going to say, hold on.
Oh, do you have yours, Bonnie?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. This works out great. And so we actually have like a 3-part system. We have a cutter, and then we have a popper. So you cut it, the popper pushes it out, and then we have a tray that you can line them up in vertically so you can easily stick them. All that to be said, we have 4 different sizes so that people can do whatever size they want. Our large is a 1.75 diameter circle. So I would do 1.5 diameter logos for that.
OMG. I'm like cruising your website. Sorry, I got totally distracted.
Oh, please, yes.
These are away. These are
Thank you. Okay, great. Thanks, Bonnie. So,
these are the disc guides, and I think it was Kathy who was asking about the blue one, the large one, which Amy probably already said this was the most popular one. It's 1.75 diameter, right?
You got it. Nailed it. Mm-hmm.
So do you want to explain, and then I'll take it off? And
Sure, yes. And I didn't mention the depth wheels too. But when you're rolling, when you make disc pops, usually you roll out your dough, and all of these rollers that come online, they came like cookie size. So they would like make your dough really, really thin. I was like, man, we need like a thicker dough. I was like, wait, we have a 3D printer. We can easily make them. So we can also 3D print these rings that fit onto your rolling pins. So you can make your dough anywhere from, I think we do like half an inch to 1 inch. So you can make them any depth. So that's what Bonnie's showing you right there. So then you roll out your dough, and then that's when the cutter popper comes in that Bonnie was showing you. So Bonnie, can you show them how that little contraption works too? And this kind of takes cake pops and puts it more in like a cookie sense. So all of you cookiers out there, if you're like, oh, cake pops are terrifying to me, it's kind of the same. So yeah, so you can see that you just cut it out with that bottom part and then you pop it out, which just makes, you don't have to like put your finger in there and like leave fingerprints in your cake pop dough.
That's what I do. That's why I
Yeah.
don't do
And then when you're
Yes, yep. And then that's the tray. So then you line up all of your discs vertically, and then you can just hold it and stick them all like right in a row. You can see that they're all lined up, so they're all exactly the right size as well.
That is really cool.
Thank
It's
you.
like,
honestly
I could do it, and I wouldn't use my fingers. Go ahead. What?
It honestly is the best. I mean, the depth. When I tell people that I use these things every single day, like I use them every single day. So it's the depth guides with some of the shapes. I'll change out the depth guides to a little bit thicker because I want it to be the same amount of cake that it is when I just use a disc pop. But yeah, use my code Sweet Stella Treats 10.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. Save 10%.
Wait. I was busy getting the link. So
Okay.
hold on. So here's the link. And what's the code you want to use?
Sweet Stella 10 is Bonnie's code. That saves you 10%.
Stella 10.
Yep, you got it.
There you go,
And if you
guys.
join the pop party, there are additional savings in there too.
There are.
That's really darn cool. Really cool. Really, really cool.
And so something too that I've been thinking of is I need to talk to Christine about it too from Cake Pop Box, who's a good friend of ours. But she sells edible images. I've been thinking about adding edible images to the Daisy Makes universe because then you can just say like I make large, I use a large cutter, so you don't even need to know or think about what size edible image is. But we would just say here's the large, and then we send it. It shows up to you, and you're good to go. So it's a thought.
What do you think, guys? Give her feedback. It's a great place to do. Now, Bonnie, you do something too, right? You have a business of some sort.
I do. And just before I forget, did you answer? Was I in the kitchen on what size the people that have a large? You did. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry. So yes, I have. If you just saw how much stuff, sprinkles, and chocolate I have right behind me, it's pretty sad. I do have the Pop Party membership, and then I have the Pop Box. Which one? I'm not sure which one.
Talk about them both.
Okay. So the Pop Party membership was kind of what I touched on a little bit at the beginning when I was talking about just starting 15 years ago and how I started with the book and I didn't have anything to just look up and learn from. And then as I got started, I actually did cakes in the beginning and I met some wonderful lady. Facebook was the only social media that we had. And some lady in another country, I don't even know how I got in touch with her, but she had gorgeous cakes. And I asked her so many questions and she answered them so kindly to me. And I just remember thinking, if I can ever help anybody, like I want to be able to help and give back to I remember how sweet and kind she was to help me starting out. And so now that I've done cake pops for 15 years now, honestly, the disc thing has been the biggest change that I've made in the last 15 years of cake pops. And I still do round ones. I still do all the little custom ones. I just don't take quite as many orders for those. But I created the Pop Party just because I wanted everything in one place. So there's, the internet can be daunting and you can find recipes, but every cake recipe is not great for cake pop dough. So I felt like discount codes, freebies, recipes, all the tutorials, how I make my cake pop dough, step-by-step guides, everything is in the Pop Party. And even with like tonight, I've already created a post in there where this link will be so my Pop Party members can just go and instead of having to find, was that on the Business of Cake Popping page? Was that on the Icing Images page? They just have everything there in one spot. So, and I do live tutorials that you can go back and watch over and over. And there's a suggestion space on there that if you have an idea of what you want to see, then I use that suggestion box that's my next live that I'll do. So it's growing and it's becoming a lot more than I originally thought it would be with just 2 lives. And that makes me really excited. So And then the other thing that I have is the Pop Box. It is a box that can be a subscription, but it doesn't have to be a subscription. And I actually was packing one today, but it's a box like this that comes with your cake mix. It has a round ball, because in my video I do teach how to do the round cake balls. And then it comes with sprinkles, a stand for drying, and a QR code that you scan, and it takes you to a video of you making cake pops with me. I do cake pop camps in the summer, and one of the things that a lot of people talked about that moved away, we wish my kids could come to your cake pop camp. Is there any way that we could do cake pops like live with you? And so this was kind of how the Pop Box was created. So if you subscribe, you get 4 seasonally themed boxes and a 5th birthday box for free. So I have some going out in October for Halloween, Thanksgiving boxes, Christmas boxes, and they all come with, I don't know if you can see that Stover & Company bag right there, but they all come with one of those smaller Stover & Company chocolates. So they're getting every single thing that I use in the kitchen every day, from the chocolates, from sticks, the cake mix, and then the video with me. So, and then I have the Cake Pop Camp Master Course too that teaches you how to do all the camps. So lots going on over at the
for you.
thing.
Put all of those links up there so you guys can easily access all in one place to get all in one place.
Yes, and Kathy said, "Thank you, ladies. That you are the best. I'm always messaging Amy, and she's so great at replying back. Yes, the best membership as well. Thank you, Kathy. Yes,
awesome. And I was going to say, and what I like that I'm hearing, it's kind of what my philosophy is too. Is we all got all this knowledge. We're 25 years in like next month, and of course 25 again, but I'm not. So there's a lot of knowledge in our heads, and picking our brains. I think I can speak for all of us. I love to share what I know, and obviously that's definitely showing in what you guys do, sharing your knowledge, and and just helping everybody create more smiles and pops.
Yeah.
Yep, that's for sure. I always say, there's enough people out there who love eating cake pops that all of us cake pop artists can stay busy. So like all ships rise with the tide, right? So if there are ways to help, ways to improve the cake pop artistry world, why not be more open-handed with it? So
cake pop. Yes. Cake poppers unite. Right. Yeah, there's people, the nice thing about our business is it's consumable. Everybody eats it and it's gone and they're ready for more. And,
exactly.
And so it's like, there's enough business for everybody, more than enough business for everybody. And the more you help people, it's for me, it's really rewarding, so definitely.
Julie, I think we ignored your first time asking this question. We use candy melts, so that Stover & Co. Sweet Shop, it is like a candy melt. So we don't have to temper our chocolate. We just nuke it in the microwave, and you're ready to go, which is the best.
Yeah, definitely. All right. We got about 5 more minutes, guys, so throw up those questions as fast as you can. If you ladies have any questions for me, let me know. I'm happy to answer whatever you want.
One of the I think some people may have, I don't know that they've asked here, but is how you print the images. Like if they were to purchase a printer, and I have to say that I use the software that comes with I've got the Canon, so I use the Icing Images. Just the software. I don't know if there's another name for it. Is there? iPrint. Yes, iPrint. And it's very easy. You find a logo, or somebody sends you a logo. You download that logo, save it to your computer, and then you upload it. And then there's a little picture, and I'm very visual, so it has a little picture of the circles of exactly how it's going to be printed, and you just click on the circle, and your image goes right in there, and it's very easy to do. So I'm always impressed at just how easy for somebody who's not very like tech savvy. It's super easy.
Yeah, and I print is free for all our customers. You don't need any codes or anything. You just have to have purchased us from us. I think it's within the year, and you're automatically sign in and you have access to it, which is nice. Becky really wants, I'm knowing her well enough, and this does totally make sense. We need to visit about smart sheets and embossing patterns on cake pops. So I
I would
see
love that.
cake pop and Becky unite.
Let's do it,
Yes.
Becky. Do it.
Exactly. Yeah, she does the most beautiful work. So this would be awesome. Denise, what? Did I click? Did I do that? I thought
Um,
this. Okay. Okay. And B pops. Yeah, Becky's business is Two B's Cookies.
mm,
So yes, the B pops, as she said.
got it.
So okay, sorry, I'm trying to read everything to make sure we got everything.
I see Denise's question in there that I think you were starting to read. She says, "My chocolate seems to crack on cake pops balls. What causes that?" There's a couple things I know. Bonnie goes over all of that stuff in her pop party, all troubleshooting them. But the main thing is if you're dipping cold cake dough into warm chocolate, that is the main reason for that happening. There's lots of other reasons too, so you should go subscribe to the pop party for Bonnie. But that's the main one. So and another plug too for disc cake pops is that disc pops don't crack. Like I'm not quite sure what the science is behind that, but they don't. So I'm always very grateful for that.
Yeah, and there's something about when you use a round cake pop when you're. I'm actually doing another live with Daniela from Stover and Company about just all about chocolate again because the one we did before disappeared, but and it was probably user error again. But it was there for like 30 days. But like a lot of times, if my chocolate is slightly overheated, and that can happen very easily, if you're using a round pop, it starts to come off of the cake pop.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really do that a lot with the disc pops. It's so weird how just the chocolate, yeah, I guess because it's got more rounded, I don't know, rounded edges, but yeah. And then I feel like certain colors crack a lot easier. Like if I'm using a deep red
Yep.
or a deep green or something like that, especially with red, if I'm not constantly, but about every 10 or 12 cake pops, if I just don't redistribute all that heat in there, they start drying at different times. I feel like after you dip it, and then I feel like that can cause a crack.
Maggie said, you mentioned using the Cricut machine to cut the sheets. Which model do you have to use? She has a Cricut Maker and a Maker 3. Can she use what she has?
Yes, you can. That Maker 3, I'm not sure what the Cricut Maker is, but the Maker 3, as long as it can fit that like 8.5 by 11 sheet in, you can do it. So I use the print and cut method. So I hadn't seen anybody really doing that for cake pops or edible images yet when I started doing it. So I just like Googled hardcore, like how do you print and cut? How do you do this? But yeah, the print and cut is a lifesaver. I was sitting there like cutting them into strips, my circles, like cutting it into strips, using a hole punch to do it. Sitting and I looked across. I'm like, wait, I have a Cricut. I was like, it's literally made to do what I am doing right now. So we started using that and haven't looked back.
So a couple things on that. So it's with the makers because I do want to caution you, if you've used it for anything other than like vinyl and paper, don't use that Cricut because they can cut some wild things. And also, you definitely want a separate blade, a separate mat. Don't if you're using wafer paper or smart sheets, you can't put it on the sticky part because the sticky mat is not food safe.
Yep.
Okay, but the icing sheets have backings. Flex Frost has backings, and so that can add as a food safe barrier. And you can actually mark your blades with a little bit, the blade and the mat with a little bit of nail polish so that you can differentiate what's what. So you don't make that mistake of using anything like that. We do have a food safe mat if you want to use smart sheets and wafer paper, and that has all the cut settings on it as well. But
to know.
yeah, but the icing sheets, I mean, if you're doing icing sheets, has that barrier, but just make sure it's a brand new mat. Let's see, use the hole punch method. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, at least you're not using scissors. You guys
Yeah.
are able to cut things out, you know, so you being smart, using a hole punch is a great idea, but that the Cricut is awesome. We actually just started carrying the Joy Extra, and I love that. It's much different than the other Cricut machines. It goes right through pretty easily, and it's fast. But it's just for the edible paper. It's really fast. And I was pretty darn impressed with that. And then Becky told you to check out the Edible Tech Guru, who's sitting in here watching Stacy Barr, and he has the free tutorials on his website as well. So awesome. All right. I think we got all the questions.
I think so.
I think we did. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
I didn't answer many questions as far as my concerns. Everyone had the questions for you, which is great because there's hunger for the pops.
Literally and figuratively. You got that right.
Amy has her group. Daisy makes with all the questions about the disc stuff, and then we run the group Business of Cake Popping together with everything and anything. So,
and this live stays available. It's on our Facebook page. It's on the Icing Images YouTube page as well.